Hello.
You want to hear about the dumb thing I did today?
Yeah.
Okay, so my day was spent. Number one, I didn't even get up until like noon. Actually,
Nice.
let's get some backstory for this. I went to bed fairly late because of the way that I am as a person.
Yeah, same.
I woke up early-ish, did the various washing of faces and whatnot, came back, sat down in my bed. I made the mistake of not immediately making my bed, which means I got under the covers. Mistake. Number one. Immediately fell back asleep. Woke up periodically. The thing about me falling back asleep, though, because I do this on a regular basis, I wake up at a reasonable time and then I go back to sleep for a few hours. That always results in the weirdest, most vivid dreams. And these are the only dreams I can ever remember are the ones that I have during this time period. For some reason, I had a very vivid and elaborate dream that I was a cast member in the Disney Frozen on Ice. Okay, I've never seen it. I've just it's come up on my TikTok For You page. One very specific video came up recently of somebody who was following around the ensemble cast member who's the guy with 8,000 salad plates. He skates around with a stack of salad plates, and he's magnificent. He's incredible. So I guess that was in my brain. And so I had this I was having a romance with the guy that was playing Kristoff. He didn't look like Kristoff, by the way. I just, for some reason, was in love with this man.
You knew
we were backstage. There was a little bit of a crisis. I don't remember what it was. Something went wrong. I was hella good ice skater in this dream. It was elaborate. I wake back up, it's noon. I'm like, crap, I have so much to do today. And the thing is, it wouldn't normally be that much to do except that I was vlogging today. I was doing a little spend the day with me type TikTok video, which means I was recording basically everything I was doing, which makes every task take 3 times as long. Because you've got to set it up and get the angle, and then you record, and then whatever. So I did all these things today. I worked out, my legs no longer function, it's fine. I thought I was gonna die. I showered, and then you were like, hey, we'll record later tonight, and I was like, bet, that's perfect. I have this Tuscan soup Instant Pot recipe that I've made before. It's delicious.
I'm in this expecting Tuscan soup to come up.
It's delicious. Then the thing is, though, I'm trying to be healthy, as you do, but I always forget that, similar to vlogging, being healthy takes 3 times longer than being not healthy. Because suddenly I gotta chop up all these ingredients. I gotta make things, but I'm not gonna just chug another cup of coffee. I'm gonna make myself a matcha latte 3 times as long. Anyway, so I'm making this soup. It's taking a long time, longer than I anticipated. It's an Instant Pot recipe, so I thought to myself, 20 minutes. I'll be ready to go. An hour later, my Instant Pot was still preheating, and it had been preheating for 20 minutes, and I was confused. It only had to pressure cook for 5 minutes. So why was the preheating taking so long? And you had texted and were like, I'm ready to go. And I was like, well, god damn it. My Instant Pot is just sitting on preheat. And it sat there for so long. And then finally it went off, and I made my soup, and I ate it just now as we were sitting here. And there was so much potato. And I chugged it all.
I saw, I knew you were eating the soup. This is not a surprise to me. What was a surprise was that the soup was your dumb thing. I find that
It took so long. And I was really thinking it would be a quick... I've made the soup before. Yeah. I didn't remember it taking a very long time. I was quick and easy dinner. Problem solved.
The worst part about Instapots and air fryers is they never have a button. It's never clear when they're done preheating. And I don't know why yours was taking that long. I've never had an Instapot. I feel like it's going to explode in my face, but
I love my Instant Pot. I've used it for many years. It will tell you when it's done preheat. It has a little arc on it, and so it shows you exactly when it's just, it'll get stuck on that last, there's one more little square, and it just sits there. And you're like, well, how? It's not a countdown. The air fryer, because I've got a big fancy one that I got for Christmas, that one's weird because it will just, it preheats super quickly, and it won't, count down for you either. It'll just be beep, and you're like, oh no, my stuff isn't in there. I'm not ready. You preheated so quickly. Oh my god, also contributing to the wildness this morning, I worked out yesterday for the first time in a very long time, because, medical crises and fatigue and such. I wasn't moving my body, and I was like, I need to do that more. and I did a workout yesterday, and it was like a full body workout, and then that felt like nothing. It ended, and I was like, wow, I've done so much more than this before. So I did an arm workout on top of it because I was like, I need to do more things today. And I also felt fine after that, but I did stop. And today I had to use my arms to sit up because my abs ceased functioning. I woke up and was like, oh God, why is my whole body in pain? I can't move. I woke up on my back. I'm a stomach sleeper, unfortunately, but I woke up on my back.
Thickens.
Unclear. Like, I was in so much pain that my body just starfished. Okay, I'm done. That's the saga of my day.
Wow. I mean, in our household, like, the most dramatic thing that happened recently is that we do a lot of, like, online curbside ordering.
Sure.
And every once in a while we'll do like Sam's Club. Is that like a national chain? I don't know. It's like Costco, whatever.
I don't know. I know what it is.
Yeah. Like,
I don't know if it's national.
It's like whatever. I don't know. And my mom accidentally bought 20 pounds of cheddar cheese.
Respect.
I like opened the fridge, and I was like, Mom. And they're huge hunks. Like, they're huge. And she was like, she's got one is pepper jack, one is Colby jack, and the rest are just cheddar. And
my abs hurt. You're making me laugh, but it's hurting.
And I opened the fridge and I was like,
oh God,
bread and cheese? And I was like, what? I was like, have you heard my dreams? Like, what is happening? And she's like, well, I want to buy these like big like hunks of cheese and like cut them up and then like shred them myself so that we would like, we would be, it's not like a health kick, but it's more like we'll try to like meal prep and like do things without having to buy like the, I don't know, packaged shredded cheese, which for our family is just unreasonable. We're like, we are not the type of family to shred our own cheese. I gotta tell you that ended like 10 years ago. Okay. We've been behind for like 10 years. And so yeah, now she was like, yeah, I wondered why the order was like $30 more. She was like, I took like some other stuff out. She was like, I don't know what. And then I was like, well, we've got a lot of cheese now, but we don't have any fancy bread, so kind of a disappointment. But yeah, just a lot of cheese.
I mean, we have also a lot of cheese right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all different kinds of cheese, and it's all fancy cheeses because we were racletting, which
that looked really tasty.
Oh, it's so good. But the thing is, we got so much meat and cheese that we're still working on it, and we started around Christmas.
Yeah, we had this residual cheese purchase of ours too. It was inspired by Christmas because we bought like a bunch of different cheese. She had like cheese, like a very non-aesthetically pleasing charcuterie board. Sure. And then she had made like
charcuterie board, if you will.
She had made like homemade queso and stuff. And then I discovered the wonders of pepper jack cheese. I had never like been a fan of, I don't know, pepper jack cheese. But I know
it's the best kind.
I was very picky. It's the best of like the generic.
Yes.
Kinds.
Yes. That's a good way to put that.
Yeah, like I was a very picky eater as a kid. I was not adventurous or whatever. But like she had it on the plate and I was like, let me just take a little bite. And it was delicious. It was so good. It changed my life. I put it on everything now. And so like I've been like ordering pepper jack cheese. And so I think she just took it to heart and just bought so much cheese. But I mean, I can't complain. I just don't know where. I mean, it's like taking up a good portion of that fridge.
Also, you gotta eat it before it goes bad.
I know.
Can you freeze cheese the way that you can freeze?
I have not a clue in the world. Like I don't know. Because then it's like making queso's hard because we, if you make it and then it's like super good in like the little crock pot, but then well then if you like reheat it, it gets all greasy and then we learned you had to put like acid in it so it doesn't congeal, and I'm like, I am not a baker, I am not a chef. Cooking, I love to eat food, but there's so many rules and like scientific things that I'm just not capable of, or like knowing what things do what to achieve other things, like making your queso runny and delicious.
Sure.
So yeah, we're struggling out here.
I feel that.
And I wanted to sleep in this morning, But I definitely had to finish Seduce Me at Sunrise. I, like, woke up because I didn't know when we were going to record. So, like, last night I was supposed to read it, but then I read the what's it called? In which Matilda Halifax learns the value of restraint. I also had to read In Which Margot Halifax, whatever. And then my mom was like, let's watch a movie. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to not watch a movie. So then we watched Austenland. And then we were in, like, the vibe, I guess, of like Jane Austen. So then we watched the new Emma, or it was like 2020. We're behind
The
the
best
times.
one, yes.
Yeah, it was very good. Very,
Yes.
I'd never seen it before. I know.
It's one of my.
So good.
I think it's arguably like the best Austen adaptation. Other than, I'm a 1995 Pride and Prejudice.
You are.
Really.
You are. And see, my mom's a 2005, so I'm a 2005er. And we know at least I know your struggles with that movie.
I have a lot of struggles.
You do.
I think it's a bad Austen adaptation.
I don't really care about, like, the adaptation. I just like the movie. Like, I'm
That's
not
fair.
You know, like, if I was if you know, like, let's say season 2 Bridgerton, like, if I had read the book, I probably would have been a lot more angry for different reasons than I was angry, you know? Like, I get it.
Sure.
So, like, totally valid. But then, because I know, like, the new Persuasion, I mean, I see what people were angry, but I was like, honestly, it worked for me. I see what, like, it's not Persuasion, but, like, as a movie, I can watch it.
I remember when it came out, I was talking to Sand, and she hadn't seen it yet, and she hates that movie, I think.
Yeah.
But it had just come out, and I was like, oh, I watched it. It's bad. It's so bad, and I had such a good time watching it.
Yeah. I
can't do that with Pride and Prejudice.
See,
I think because I saw the 1995 first. That was my introduction to Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, I just remember my mom watching the 2005 version when I was a kid. She, like, watched it when we were in a hotel room one time on, like, a little, like, portable DVD player. She was, like, sobbing like, with headphones in. I was like, okay. And then we watched it. Yeah.
People like it as a movie. Like, I think it's good as a movie. It's just not Jane Austen.
Yeah. And which is, like, again, like, I don't remember books
which
well
you don't
enough.
care, or even, like, some people can separate that. I mean, there are people who love, there are plenty of, like, huge Austen fans who also love that Pride and Prejudice. I think it's just the things that I like about Jane Austen did not make it into that movie.
In there. Yeah, I can see that.
It felt like the Brontes had rewritten one of the Brontes had rewritten Pride and Prejudice, put their own spin on it, and then that got adapted into a movie. It was lots of, like, professions in the rain and sweeping shots across the moors and all these things, and, like, there was a little bit of humor, but not much, and it really missed, I think, the social commentary for me, where I was like, this is just a romance, and the whole point of Pride and Prejudice is that it's, like, kind of not, like, don't get swept up in the charming, handsome guy. That's, like, Jane Austen's whole thing. If he's handsome, red flag.
If he's James McAvoy, red flag. My mom loved the movie Becoming Jane, and then I watched it. I was like, what the hell was that?
It was so good. What are you talking about? I have no idea if it's even close to realistic.
Oh, I have no clue. I just
that man is like, so fine.
He is very fine. Well, we also watched Penelope. So we went from what was the movie I mentioned before?
Austenland.
Yes, you are so correct. I don't know my life. So we went to Austenland, and then I was like, okay, let's go to Penelope because we hadn't seen it in a while, and my mom is a humongous James McAvoy fan. So watch that. Yes. And then Emma was, like, right there below because I was talking to her about it, and I was like, oh, it's there. And then we watched that. Today we watched Clueless.
So you're really just following this through line.
Yeah. Well, because I was, like, explaining Emma through Clueless. I was like, oh, yeah, this is happening because, like, I had seen Clueless multiple times.
So now you have to read Kamila Knows Best.
Yes. My whole it, like, lapsed because I was, like, doing, like, all these other books for multiple different reasons. But I am picking that one back up because I really love Jana Goes Wild. It was a really good book. And then you saying that was the was that what one was that? Jane Fairfax. We say she was like Jane Fairfax and
so Kamila Knows Best out now. Is
Yeah.
An Emma retelling.
Mm-hmm.
And Jana shows up in that book, and there's the hero, they're that kind of, if you know Emma, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like a modern twist on it. It's not the exact same as the story, but you know kind of like the Jane and Frank plot line.
Yeah.
And then Jana Goes Wild is not an Austen retelling, because Jane Fairfax doesn't get her own book, but she was essentially the Jane Fairfax character, and so now it's her second chance romance.
Yeah, that one was good. So I'm definitely gonna go back and reread, or not reread, just read it for the first time.
Sure.
Because I liked her writing a lot, and then because I had read her
really
YA.
Good. It is Closed Door.
Kamila, yeah, because the Jana Goes Wild, because you read it too. It wasn't like explicit, but like
no, but there was like a sex.
They got a little steamy in the shower. There was like I was not expecting it.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Not over the top, but it was there. Kamila has like a hot and heavy makeout. I think it's like a topless makeout type situation. But then it's closed door. There's just like allusions to it. But that was one of my top reads of last year. A forever book, standard disclaimer.
Yes. I've seen a lot of people loving that book, so I'm excited for that, because I also have a few other contemporary ones.
It is a tad on the like my standard like Emily Henry single person POV, closer to contemporary fit, but like it's a romance, but I think even more so than Jana, it's a little closer to contemporary. It's a little more focused on Kamila than Rohan.
Interesting.
I still loved it though.
And see, like we know this, I adore me a single POV. So while I don't obviously stray towards just contemporary fiction, I do appreciate the single POV and the mysteries it provides.
I mean, it is romance. It
but
just definitely is pretty heavily focused on her.
I'm excited for that.
Well, I mean, that gets us into Jana was one of my the books I was going to mention today. So I feel like we checked that box. That was the most recent book that I finished. 5 stars.
Look at us being so smooth.
Comes out in May. Welcome
and
to
the
romance,
cover.
Your TBR.
Oh yeah.
The cover. No. Let's backtrack, shall we? Because I love the cover.
It's so pretty.
I also just want to go to Tanzania so badly now. Like, I feel like I'm a terrible, like, not bougie traveler.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like camping, so some of the things they were talking about where it's like, oh, this hotel, the rooms are tents, and there's, like, not a lot of amenities. I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, I could. It would be fine. However, I am bougie, unfortunately. Privileged as hell.
And another recent turn of events in my family, there's been a random like 24 to 48 hour stomach bug just making its way downtown.
Walking fast.
Exactly. It's walking real fast. And so like I have managed thus far to avoid it. And so I would be very wary of getting a random ice cube that wasn't filtered or anything, because that like makes an appearance in the book. And like the amount of times I've washed my hands this past weekend, like we need lotion. Like it's bad. So I think I would be very stressed out, because I am also not a lackadaisical. Like
lackadaisical?
Huh? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes. I think.
I have no clue.
I think it's lackadaisical.
I'm
just an idiot.
I don't. I think in the history of this podcast is probably like 10 you, 1 me.
Historically. That's fair.
I don't even know how to spell it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I could be an idiot here.
It looks how they have it is divided up. It looks, like you're right. Yeah. Lackadaisical. I mean, that sounds wrong to me. Oh, yeah. So it's a commonly mispronounced word. I'm common. So some people pronounce with an X, like lackadaisical. Or what lackadaisical? I did not know that last C was in there. So semantic. I don't know. I also say fixing a puzzle. So we know I'm just kind of messed up. So Yeah. Someone
Okay.
got on me in elementary school for saying, coupon instead of coupon. I'm like, "My mom says
Mm.
coupon."
My mom says coupon, and I'm
Yeah.
always like, "You're killing me here."
So then I,
My
like, peer pressure, now
mm,
say coupon, you know?
my dad is, really big on he is convinced that he's right. He will say folk instead of folk, like FOLK,
Oh.
and we're like, "Why do you say it like nobody says
Folk.
folk,
Folk.
like
Folk.
folk."
Like a folk song?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
folk song, but then on the flip side, we also he gets he will, like, call us out, and we're like, "Dad, it's egg yolk." Like the yolk of an egg? And
Egg
he's
yolk,
like,
yeah.
"No, a yolk is a thing that goes on an animal to, like, what you
So he
pull it
pronounces the
whatever."
L?
He says egg yolk, and we're like, "It's not it's a yolk." And he's like, "There's an L in there." And I'm like, "Right, but it's like a like, nobody says
Yeah.
the L, it's an egg yolk." And he's like, "Do you mean a yolk?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I mean an egg yolk." Like, why Oh,
That's,
we get in fights.
that was me in high school of the, great sherbet debate of, 2012. I
I
had
still don't
no
know how to say
clue.
it.
It was sherbet, it sounds wrong, it sounds,
Yeah,
I don't
nice.
know, unholy, dare I say? So I still say sherbet, I know it's wrong, but I can't.
You are wrong. That's unfortunate.
I know, like, I can't say sherbet, like, what? That doesn't
There
sound
was one that
edible.
would library always annoyed
Mm,
me,
mhm,
which that's like a standard little kid, like, you just can't
yeah.
say the bruh, but, like, it always bothered me when people but there was another one. I think there's, like, a way to say caterpillar that is really
Oh,
common with that's that is how you say
caterpillar?
it, caterpillar, but there's
Yeah, cata
I can't remember what it is. I think it's
hmm,
caterpillar, but whatever it is, there's, like, some, like, really common, like, you hear it a lot, especially with little kids that like, they flip R's into weird places where you're like, "That's not it."
hmm.
Back to TBR Tuesday.
Yeah, we are romance or TBR. It is currently TBR Tuesday time. If you're new here, this is just a space for us to kind of like go back throughout the past 2 weeks, list all the books that we've read and recommend. It's not just historical; there are arcs too thrown in.
Yes.
YA if we have
So Jana
any.
Goes Wild, for example,
Yep,
comes out in May.
yep, and that's contemporary. Any like if we randomly read like a nonfiction or like a fantasy that we recommend, all that stuff gets thrown in here, and then these are posted every other Tuesday. Sure.
Speaking of Jana Goes Wild, I realized we
Mm.
never recapped, like, what it's about.
Oh.
Just
Ooh, it's a
if anyone is curious.
spicy
It's
drama.
a second chance romance between two co-parents, they have a child together. Um, there is some I don't wanna, like, spoil too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were together for a couple of weeks, and then broke up
Mhm.
for reasons.
Well, I mean,
Um,
the back of the book, what is how much does that give away?
not a ton.
Because I feel like in the Forever Facebook group, Estelle, like, posted the,
Well, that's specifically because she was a little
yep,
concerned about
yep,
the
and I was like, "Oh, that seems intriguing."
so there
Um,
is an infidelity aspect, but I feel like
it's
need to
muddled.
caveat it. Yeah, it's not
Ye
well, number 1, they're not cheating on each other.
No.
And 2, it's a really complicated
Uh-huh.
situation. It's not just like
It's
one of them was cheating on someone.
it's a
Like, it's
situation where I think it would've been okay if he would've just said what was happening,
yeah,
you know? Like, I think, like,
yeah,
hindsight's 20/20 and, like, they have the whole
right.
conversation.
There's a lot of groveling. It's a second chance romance,
Well,
but
someone I don't think it was in relation to that book, but someone was like, you know, when the book is, like, all the 3rd act breakup, like, the entire book
mhm.
is just like that, that's how it felt, which is just lovely because, like, there's just so much
I
groveling,
feel like that's the best way to explain a
and
second
I
chance
was
romance.
yeah. I was like,
It is
"Yes,
all
girl,
the
make
3rd
him
act.
hurt. Make him hurt." And then, like, again, like, I didn't really, like I wasn't angry at him really. I was
No,
just still just, like, down to see suffering and, like, groveling. I was like, "I don't know.
no, it all
I'm
made
rooting for
sense
you,
to
Jana."
me. But I know some people will, like, if they get even a whiff
Yeah.
of cheating, they're like, "No, I'm not
Yeah.
reading it." And I'm like, "Just give this one a shot. It's not your average infidelity in romance. There's a lot going on.
And it was
Um,
just juicy. I was
it
like,
is
I am here
juicy.
for it.
And most
So,
of the book takes place while they are in the bridal or wedding party rather for
mhm.
Kamila and Rohan from the other book, Kamila Knows Best, are getting married in Tanzania. And for the wedding, and then afterwards they all travel to like throughout kind of like the Serengeti and go to different hotels and game drives and
it felt like so I didn't like the Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. It got like I was enjoying it and then I wasn't. But it kind of had that same vibe of like, because in the Unhoneymooners, have you read it?
Mm-hmm.
When like her boss shows up like on their vacation and like obviously they were part of the wedding and like there's the whole wedding vibes, and then obviously they're like enemies to lovers, which I guess they're kind of enemies now, but they're more just like strangers at this point. Or like amicable. I don't know.
Yeah, they're like co-parents, but they mainly
they don't talk.
An app. Yeah, they don't. Jana can't emotionally handle.
Which honestly, that would fuck with your head. That was my only part in that book where I was like, he's kind of like treating it a little too lackadaisical. I don't fucking know how to pronounce that. So, I'll never pronounce it right. He was.
Yeah, I don't think he was with her.
Yeah, I don't think he was understanding how much of an emotional strain that really could be if she really didn't want to see him. Like, she didn't owe him time.
Well, but she was.
Yes.
Like, there was a lot of complications with. Well, number one, he's like, I just want to be friends. Like, we just need to be able to co-parent this child. And two, there was the whole like the guy that was interviewing for her
so that's
job is on this trip because there's a weird.
At that point,
separation. Yeah. Well, and at her
point, she needed something from him. So it was at that,
Right. I mean, I understood where he was coming from.
Yes.
I do, but I know what you mean, where you're like, dude, she's trying, but like, this is a lot.
And again, like, obviously it's fiction, and like, this isn't like a relationship guide or whatever.
Well, and also like this is just life. Like, you just do things that maybe you didn't think about the way that was going to impact the other person.
Yeah. But overall, it was very good, and you had like the, what books about weddings are just sometimes fun.
And it's
the
like
wedding ringer.
A destination wedding. They're traveling around for a lot of it. They're going through like the Serengeti and seeing animals. There's also, they're like, it's not a fake relationship because it is essentially their relationship, but because of the like South Asian community that her, like the generation her mother is from, she's been lying and telling people that they're divorced.
And they were never
had
married.
A child out of wedlock. Yeah, they were never married. And the wife of the guy who interviewed her that nobody else knows about she's like an expert in divorce
and co-parenting. That was the only other part where I was like, okay, this co-parenting sounds a little bit cultish. I was like, what in the hell? Like, she's like, I want to interview you for your like spectacular divorce. I was like, lady, chill.
I liked her. She was funny. The song no spoilers, but the song she sang and why took me out for karaoke, for context. I liked her a lot. She was so funny.
That book, it was just very good. It was like a really good movie. Like, I was just very invested.
Had rom-com vibes.
It was rom-com vibes. You were there for everything happening. It just
I would like to see it as
I was
a movie.
Crying. It's so
very
good.
picturesque. I feel like Farah writes I felt like I was on the game drives with them. Like, you're really in the atmosphere. You're seeing the animals. There's a running bit with dicks that is maybe my favorite thing in the world. Dicks are little antelopes. For listeners who don't know, DIK.
Can I send you a dick pic? A dick pic?
A dick pic is the running bit, and I fully would if I were in that. Which, by the way, I think I'm gonna steal Bridal Brigade and Groom's Platoon. Snatched. I mean, I might elope if and when I ever get married, but like,
I wanted to be with them. I wanted to be their friends. I wanted to be a part of that.
Bridal Brigade group chat.
I was so jealous.
Sending dick pics.
It just seemed, and I said this I think in a separate podcast before, but like, since Kamila and Jana were like kind of enemies-ish, I think in the first book, Jana had a really good line about like, she was friends with her now, but she still sometimes just like, I don't like you sometimes. I was like, if that's not the most relatable thing that someone's ever written. I just thought it was spectacular. Because again, like, they're still friends and they still love each other. And
Yeah.
aren't they, like, cousins or something?
I don't think
Or,
they're
like, very
actually
close,
cousins, but, like, their families
are
grew
very
up
close. So there's always the
together.
rivalry, and they were always, like, pitted against each other.
Yeah.
Just like the, Fairfax and,
Right.
Emma. But it was just a hilarious line because she was just kinda done
Well, because
with
Jana's,
the
like, the
shit for that
opposite
day.
of Kamila.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I love Kamila, I really
Mhm.
do. Her whole book, she's Emma, she's, like, throwing parties, and her dog is Instagram famous, and she's, like, very fashionable and outgoing and all of this, and Jana is like, "I am an introvert, like, I am uncomfortable with people."
Yeah, same.
Okay, so that one, check.
Check. Uh,
Recommended.
we do, both of us. 5 stars. What else? I briefly touched last time on the novella. I think it's One Day. Yeah, A Day Until Forever by Erin Langston. It's a free with a newsletter subscription by Erin Langston. And then her debut book comes out in February, and I won an e-arc on Twitter. Um, Side note, and like, follow authors on Twitter. They do random giveaways there, and they're a lot less entered than on Instagram. Just saying. So
See,
you never know what you can find. And
I
Facebook
despise
groups.
Twitter with my whole
Mm,
body,
mm.
unfortunately, but I am on it.
It's because there's like a separate community space on Twitter that it's hard to get on Instagram, like for certain people in the
Mhm.
romance space. So it's love hate with
I get that. I've
Twitter.
just always
Yeah.
despised Twitter as a
Mm,
platform. I don't like it,
interesting.
alas.
I like free stuff, so I'll eat my pride
I mean,
and
that's fair. That's so valid.
um but the book Forever Your Rogue, um it was so emotional.
Mm.
I was like sobbing, and
Is that the one that he writes
yeah,
her a letter? Is there a
yeah,
letter in there?
yeah, there is a letter in
Somebody
there.
posted the letter and I read it and I wanted to die.
It was ugh, a lot of things were happening. It's kind of like the I'm not gonna say like West Ravenel, but he's got a lot of shit wrong in his
Mm.
life for the first like quarter of this book, and he's very much a wastrel and all of that.
God, I love
And then
trolls.
I know, because then he goes into daddy mode.
Ah!
Um, because
Y'all don't understand
um
the West Ravenel effect on me.
because like several years ago he got into too much debt,
Of course.
and yep, and Cora, the heroine, bailed him out. Basically, she gave him some jewelry to sell. She nursed his wounds. No one knew about this, and he's like, bet, this was great of you, thank you so much, I owe you in the future. It's been several years. He doesn't think it's ever going to happen. He doesn't really remember. He's spent the years just going hog wild. But then Cora, her this is like the second book in the short span where I read that the heroine is made the guardian of her dead siblings' children. So her
I just
sibling
read one where
died.
that was the
Yeah,
hero.
it's so many. Like, there, I read another one. This one handled it a lot better than the other one I read.
Because you
And
get the, like, single parent aspect without the
yes,
scandal of a single parent and without having to have
yeah.
a, like, widow plot line on
The
there.
the only thing I'm not as big of a fan, like, I prefer I like it when it's the hero because he's normally always the guardian. Like, there's never a legal issue. Because the last
Mm.
two I read, the heroine, there's like two separate types of guardianship. Like, she has like certain rights, but then there's always a sketchy uncle or like a sketchy like cousin who is trying to get the guardianship of these children too, because they were also like named, or like they're saying you're unmarried, you can't raise these kids. And so she needs to have a fiance to show that she is respectable, and the only one she can really think of is this guy who's not respectable at all, so he has to make a whole transformation. And so obviously there are reasons why the bad relatives want the children. And so I do prefer when it's just a straight up like they've been made ward, no one's going to take the kids away, because that's just a whole layer of drama that you have to work through at the third act, which can get kind of frustrating. But this one, it worked out pretty well. And a part of their pact was that to make it believable with the courts, he had to write her letters. So she like backdated. So she was like, you just have to like write me these fake letters and like have them ready for our court date.
Oh my God.
And things happened and letters were read and he was struggling throughout the entire book to write them. And then obviously you read them and
I will weep.
and I wept. Yeah, I don't know. It was a really good book though. And
what's it
called? Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston. And that's February 28th. So it'll be like here tomorrow before you know it, because January flew by. That was a long time of talking about that book. We are doing terrible on time management.
There was a lot of tangents in the beginning there. And like 5 minutes of me explaining the saga of my day. And
that's
my
staying
weird
in.
Dream.
That's staying
good.
in.
I'm glad.
That is critical information.
You have to hear about my Tuscan soup. Link the recipe in show
Under the Tuscan soup.
Oh my God. Anyway, the only other books that I read were the Lisa Kleypases that we're doing, the Hathaways that they're read-along for, so obviously not going to talk about those. The Matilda Halifax novella, which again we're doing an episode on, so not going to talk about that.
I feel like that one is like so up your alley. Like I feel like
me?
Yeah.
Like
I feel like that was just like made for you.
It was written for me.
Yeah.
That was actually just Alexandra said I'm gonna write Caroline. And that's not true. She did not. But like it felt like
I was reading it and I was like, oh my God.
We checked a lot of Caroline boxes. Yes. I'm not even an age gap fan, but it
Caroline's
worked for
bingo
me.
board, it was rattling. So
listen. Frankly, I think it could have upped the BDSM. That's my only note.
That we have things to talk about. I agree.
Yeah, we'll get there. Anyway, but the only thing I read that we're not doing a full episode on is Real by Kennedy Ryan. Listen, I cannot recommend enough. It's very long. I think it needed the space. It does a lot.
That's good.
I really recommend the audiobook. The premise of this one is that he is a documentary director. He directed a film once, but he got involved with the lead actress, and then it ended badly, and she pulled her weight and had him like thrown out, basically. And it was very dramatic. So now he does not get involved with his actresses, and also he sticks with his documentaries. And he found this like a black singer from the, I want to say like the 30s or 40s, somewhere in there. And she's not a real singer, but she's very obviously based on like the early like black performance artists, many of whom of course have been forgotten. And that is the case with Desi Blue, the fictional one. As he like saw her name on a road sign like in her hometown that was named after her and was like, who is that? And she had like a really fascinating life. So he's making a biopic of her. And he's been searching for his Desi Blue actress for months and months. And he's very picky and he cares a lot about his work. And he can't find the right actress. And he finds her. He goes with his friend to see the friend had met this woman, the heroine Neva. The friend is a musician and they had like performed together once, and so he's like, oh, she's the understudy for the lead on Broadway, so she's never performed on Broadway, but the lead actress has taken a vacation, so it's her Broadway debut. She's going on as the lead in this show, so they go to see it, and there's a lot of like, he's like, she is like light, like he sees her and immediately is like, that's her, she's the actress, I need her to be in this movie. And then they obviously fall in love over the course of making this movie. So there's like little chapters that are the script of the movie. So like Desi Blue. And there's a couple of songs which I know you are like, oh no, don't sing. But in the audiobook there's a third narrator who does the Desi Blue like script chapters. And there's a vocal performer who's
Well, they
saying
got a
it's
performer for that, so that's
right.
already a step above.
Right. It was kind of funny. I listened to it really sped up because of the way that I
Oh
am. Like
god.
well,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
so every time it's like somebody would start singing and I would have to like scramble to put it back to like 1x
Yeah.
because I didn't want to listen to the songs. It would be like and I was like, "Oh no." But the audiobook is really good. It's also heavy content warnings for like medical
Mm.
chronic illness content. She starts the book with discoid lupus, which I don't know a lot about
Oh.
lupus, but apparently there's a kind of lupus that can be terminal. A lot of like
Yeah,
it's
it's
not
bad news.
really anymore. Like they've done enough
Mhm.
whatchamacallit. There's
Yeah,
like
enough
medical advancement.
research,
So it's
advancement.
a chronic illness. It's like a thing you have for your whole life
Yeah.
and it can be really rough. So it's not as high of a life risk as it was, but it's still not good. But hers is the discoid is not terminal. It's just like a thing
Mm.
she kind of manages naturally. Or at least it's discoid she thinks when we start the book.
Oh.
There's no death. It's not
Yeah,
she doesn't like die at the end of this book, otherwise I would not be recommending it. It would not be a romance. Um but there is a lot of like chronic illness, um medical things. His mother died of I can't remember
uh,
what, but some kind of chronic illness. I think it's MS.
mm,
So like he's got some backstory there. They fall in love. There's some drama. They're making this movie. There's some health stuff. She's got some drama with her family too, because originally she was gonna stay in her small town and marry her high school boyfriend. They were engaged, but
mm.
then he had been cheating on her with her sister, and she found out because he got her sister pregnant. So there's a lot of drama with the family.
Nice.
There's just a lot of things going on, and it's Kennedy Ryan, so I cried a lot, but in a good way. It's just so
Mhm.
beautiful, and everything is handled so like deftly and woven together. It's like I was like, wow, 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 wow. I want to
Ugh.
watch this biopic so badly, and it doesn't exist in real life. I've been talking about this book for a very long time, but it was really, really like a phenomenal book. It's just very long and pretty heavy.
Gotcha. That sounds really good. I like because I'm like hit or miss with like the little like tidbit chapters thrown in. Like I've read like
These ones
books where they
weren't
throw
super long.
yeah, like they throw in like random like blog articles and things that don't make
Oh,
any relevance to the
yeah,
actual plot, and then like by the end you're like these I can
right.
skip them because they're annoying. But like Alexis Daria is a lot like Audios, and You Had Me at Ola. They have the script in there too, and they were so good via audio. Again, HarperCollins strike is still going on. Those are two HarperCollins titles, but those audiobooks were just so fucking good. The
Mm.
narrator, I haven't read them recently. I read them for the first time last year. But they had a really good like script moment in there, or at least
Mm.
the first one. The second one didn't. That had like maybe it was like articles or something. I can't quite remember what that one had. That was those like separate chapters, but the first one at least was so dramatic and lovely.
Mm. Yeah, these were like at first it was just kind of interesting to see like what
Mhm.
her life story was. They were doing research on her and found out that there was actually a like her first love was her roommate, like she was queer, but
Mhm.
that had not been public knowledge until now. So like there's a lot of talking about that and like her meeting her husband and her mother, like all of these different things. And then the last one is like her towards the end of her life when they named the street sign that he
Mhm.
sees after her, and I just like sobbed through it. She's talking about like all of these people she's loved that have like passed away and
Yeah,
like
that would get
the
me.
mark that she left on the world, and I was like, stop.
I'm too soft for all of it, said Taylor
Yeah,
Swift.
it was whew.
Yeah, that gets me. Go them for getting a professional singer, because that would change the game if some of these audiobooks had professional singers in them, and also maybe professional songwriters sometimes, because some of those lyrics that people write.
Yeah.
Um, but that sounds lovely. So that was Real by Candy Ryan. Yeah.
Yes. That
Okay.
was my only, and I'm currently reading Happy Place by Emily Henry, which is another
How
one
you
that I
liking
can
it?
already tell is going to make me sob. I'm doing it slowly because I normally inhale Emily Henry
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like really trying to force myself to like slow
A little
down, but
nibble.
also I need to because it's second chance but like forced proximity, so it's already like really high intensity because they're like they've broken up and it wasn't amicable and now they're pretending to be together. And it's just like very high emotion, and I'm only a few chapters in and I'm like, whew.
That's the one where our friend Susanna reads on Bookstagram. She told me that one was like a full third act breakup for the entire book. Because that's, like you said, second chance. So I'm excited.
I mean, like, phenomenal writing because I mean it's Emily Henry. I love her writing style. It works for me. I've already started highlighting her I notice her metaphors and similes more than like that's her those like little what was the word I'm looking for? Like hallmarks, I guess, of like you pick up on it when you read a lot of an author's work where you're like, oh, that's
Emily Henryism.
Yeah, and it's like really specific kind of out of the box similes. I think a lot about there's one in Book Lovers that I like the first time I read it, I thought about it for months. Where like they're flirting at a bar and he says something to her and the line is something about like it feels like a hot slinky falls down her spine or something like that, and it was so visceral that I was
what
like,
an author,
what is that?
When they can throw in those good metaphors, because like I'm not a huge fan of like flowery like writing or like too many like metaphors all in one and just like very like whimsical. I'm not in touch with my whimsical nature, I guess is what we've established in the past.
Getting in touch with my whimsical nature.
But when the metaphors can hit and when they're like interspersed, they're just some of the best things.
A reason.
Yes.
Like if I already know the feeling you're trying to describe, I'm like, why do we have this? Not necessarily, or like if it's just kind of your standard metaphor. The thing I like about Emily Henry, and sometimes it is just kind of a standard metaphor. She does it a lot. I noted it when I reread and annotated all of her books, and it was borderline a crutch sometimes, where I was like, oh, and another one, oh, and another one.
Yeah.
Usually though, they're so like outlandish that it's funny, number one, so you get like the kind of comedic like narrative style, but also it's like the hot slinky. Like you've never felt that, but at the same time you know.
Yeah.
Which is the purpose of a metaphor, to take a feeling that you can't, that is hard to describe it another way. But like she does it really well. Anyway, there's already a lot of those, and it's really like it has made me emotional already. But like things are intense with the second and I love a second chance when it's done well. So I'm
preparing your body.
Yes, but I'm only a few chapters in, so we'll talk about that probably next TBR Tuesday.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to wait until I have the advanced audiobook for that one, just because I have like a billion other arcs to get through, and I like Julia Whalen, so I'm assuming she's going to be narrating. So. I would hope. I don't know why she.
I don't think I ever listened to the audiobook of Book Lovers, actually. I should.
It's your homework.
Reread.
I think she narrates all of Emily Henry.
I know she at least narrated the first two.
Yeah,
I think she did Book Lovers too.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, you're not going to turn down Emily Henry, and like, I mean, she could have scheduling conflicts, but I think they'd probably know very far in advance.
I'll find out. Anyway, if you have other books,
yes. Go. So another contemporary moment for me was Ruby Spencer's Whisky Year, by Rochelle Bilow, or I think it's Bilow. So she basically is a very successful like editor at it's like a magazine or something for like food. She's like a food critic, editor, whatever. She's got a lot of credit to her name, but she's just kind of like stuck in a rut. So she quits her job and moves to Scotland to write a cookbook. And we've established I can't cook. She would know what to do with 20 pounds of cheddar cheese. I do not. But it's like one of those things where you get really stressed if you were in that situation. Like you yourself wouldn't want to just like
Hannah. That's what you do with a 20-pound block of cheese. With bread. You eat it with crusty bread.
I need to get crusty bread. Like if I would be too scared, I think, to quit my very like stable job. But reading about it, is very nice. So then she goes, obviously she has her saving a local Hallmark establishment moment of a small town in Scotland. She goes to the local like pub. She lives above it, and she works in the kitchen to like help pay like some of her rent, and
this
then she's
is
just
my
supposed
dream.
right? She's supposed to be like writing a cookbook. It's like if Leap Year wasn't a road trip romance.
That
and like if Amy Adams just wanted to like cook, and if like Matthew,
you said it's Scotland, right?
Yeah, so if
Scotland
Matthew
instead
Good,
of Ireland.
Yep. So if Matthew Good was big, burly, and Scottish, not like lean and like Matthew Goodish.
Oh, if we get the guy from Miss Scarlet and the Duke.
Yes. So we've got him, and then there's no Adam Scott, but there is spanking, like very light.
There's no Adam Scott, but there is spanking.
I gotta hit all the notes.
And recording.
There's also no engagement tradition. She just goes to write her cookbook, and then he's the pub is in his family, and there's some dramatic daddy issues. The third act kind of loses a little bit of the plot, but overall it was just a very comforting read. Whisky, his family also distills whiskey. I have horrible memories of whiskey. Me no like whiskey, but it made me want to like whiskey, so it did that.
That's fair.
But it was very good. The audiobook was lovely. The narrator was very good. The Scottish accent shined. So yeah, I really recommend it. The cover's lovely too. And that one comes out, that's an arc as well. It comes out February 14th. So Valentine's Day. Have a date with yourself and a lot of cheese. Some crusty bread. And read that book.
I will have a date with myself
because it's like,
and a lot of cheese and some crusty bread.
Because like it's not really like enemy, so it's not like leap. It's like the vibes of Leap Year without like any of the plot, you know.
Sure.
Like, it's like the destination. But I really enjoyed my time, and whenever there can be a saving a local Hallmark establishment moment,
classic.
You do love it. So, did you have anything else?
No.
Oh God. Okay. Well, I read all of Elizabeth Everett's books.
Well,
we're gonna do a full episode. That's coming out this Friday. I don't know if I
had finished A Love by Design when we did the last TBR Tuesday.
You were reading it, I think.
I have finished it. That also. But again, we've got the full episode.
Yep, so that's coming this Friday. Awesome audiobooks. Elizabeth Jasicki knocks it out of the park.
Yes.
So I read all those, and then I read
that I'm still thinking about.
For Matt. Little baby. He's shaped like a heart. Oh God. Okay. Those were so good.
Also, I would die for Grantham. That's all.
He's such a puppy dog.
He's like not my type. Like, I wouldn't be in love with him, but he's
got a lot of layers.
I'm really surprised you didn't make a Shrek reference just now.
Onions. Parfait.
I'm just like, I was waiting for it. You said he's got a lot of layers, and I was like, here we go. Put $1 in the Shrek jar.
So this time Caroline puts $1 in the Shrek jar.
Absolutely not. Caroline's keeping her money. Caroline doesn't make enough Shrek references for that to be a valid jar.
But you're thinking about it. I've done.
Of course I am. I'm always thinking about Shrek.
You sounded like Schmidt. The youths. Where are my driving moccasins?
You know what? If I were a character on New Girl, I used to be Jessica Day, especially back when I was studying teaching.
Yeah.
But
I
think I might be Schmidt.
The amount of times once I got bangs, and I hadn't seen New Girl at that point. It was freshman year.
No, you look like
every place I went, they were like, "You're Jessica Day." I was like, "Who is this?" Yeah. I don't know who you're talking about. It was constant. Someone would swipe up on Snapchat, Instagram story. Like, I couldn't get away from it. I was like, I don't know what this is. And then I was like, I'm just like predisposed to hate her. And then I watched the first episode, and she's like sobbing on her couch, listening to Taylor Swift, drinking pink wine. And I was like, okay,
no, she is deeply relatable.
Yeah. So my like profiles at work are all Jess just looking confused.
I did for a while back when I was on Twitter, not in book Twitter, but just like in college, I had a Twitter account. There was a hot minute where I did a thread where I did a new girl, like a Jessica Day gif of the day every day that would like describe what kind of day I had, and it was funny. It was it was kind of a great running bit. Oh God, I love New Girl.
That's so good. It's so good.
It's been a long time since I've watched it, so every time it shows up on my For You page of somebody being like, this is one of the funniest whatever moments, and it's something that I had like completely forgotten happened. Yeah. And I'm always like, why is this the funniest thing I've ever seen?
There's a while where I just watched New Girl compilations of like funniest scenes, like in like lieu of like my normal YouTube viewing and like watching my face and stuff.
I mean, as you should. Have you seen they like mashed up dialogue and turned it into a song?
What?
Hold on, because I can't remember what it was called, but sometimes it gets stuck in my head. I'm a man, Jess. That's the one part that I remember. I'm a man, Jessica. New Girl Remix. That is the title of the video. We'll link it in show notes. It's one of my favorite videos on the internet. Anyway. That was the New Girl tangent.
Yeah, I don't remember how we really got there, but I'm glad we went there.
Oh, I sounded like Schmidt.
Oh, yes, you did. You really did. Yeah. And that was impressive. And I love that for you. To get back on books, I reread The Runaway Duchess by Joanna Lowell. And I gave it like 4 stars my first read because I don't think I was like paying enough attention to the audiobook. I think it was just a time when I either just didn't, I don't know what was going on with me. But the second time I read it, I was in tears. I loved it so much. I really, because like that's like my ideal book is like pretty low angst, but it's also like the redeemed, you know, either villain of the previous book or she's just kind of the antagonist, but not like she's like a tangential antagonist. She's the daughter of the real one. And or if she's also just like maybe like a mean girl or something like that. Just like a lot of growth that has to happen. So you get that shift when like this person stops like thinking only of themselves and then obviously like seeing everything in like a new light, but also her struggles were very real with what she was dealing with at home and like what she was being told to do and like what she had to do. So it was just a very, very good book. And he was just a little botanist, just they were just like traveling the world and she had to like pretend because he had mistook her for a world renowned botanist as well, or whatever the correct term is. And she had to like pretend she knew all these plants. And Neil, he was just such a sweetie. And Mary Jane Wells narrates that audiobook. And so it was fantastic. And I did not appreciate her the first time around because I didn't know who she was. So yeah, that was 5 stars. And then I read that because I was going into Artfully Yours, which is the upcoming one by Joanna Lowell. That one was also good. That one comes out February 21st. But Mary Jane Wells murdered this man's voice. I don't know. I mean, I know why she did it because he's like a kind of pretentious, like art, like snob, kind of like art critic. He's very like aesthetics and he's artsy, but she made him just sound so pompous. And like, I get why she did it, but also I'm supposed to be like turned on by this man and nothing. I just couldn't get behind it. It was just such a weird experience because I love Mary Jane Wells, but I think she just kind of phoned it in because she did his voice in book 2 and it was kind of like that, but I was like, she's not gonna do that for the whole book. She did it for the whole book. And I sent it to multiple people and they were all like, what the hell is that? So like, it's not just me. It's other people who also love Mary Jane Wells and they were like, what the hell? So go in with, if you are looking to like pre-order the audiobook, I don't know, I'd listen to the sample and just hear that man's voice. He sounds like a peacock. And the book itself was good. The narration took a hit. Still, I think the second of that series is my favorite. But I need to go back and reread book 1 sometime. That one just has a lot of content warnings.
There are some heavy like alcoholism.
Yes.
And then forced institutionalization.
Yes.
And of women specifically, you know, period. Women put in asylums that did not need to be there. Not that asylums were good for the people that needed that kind of help, but I think there were some. It's been a long time since I've read it.
It was one of
because it was things too.
Because it was one of the first ones that I went to because it was illustrated and it was at that time of like bringing down the Duke.
It's not funny. It's heavy.
It has a fun premise. She sees
it is a funny premise.
She's an artist and she's of the lower class and he's a Duke. He's laying naked and she draws him.
He's passed out drunk in an alley. She thinks he's dead. Doesn't know who he is.
And she's like, wow, that's a real handsome piece of equipment you've got.
Specimen. Well, and also importantly, because she's a woman, they don't have nude models to pose.
And so she's lacking that experience for her art. And so she draws him and then it gets sold and he sees it and then things happen. So it's a very fun
some dude shows up and is like accusing him of cheating on, or rather of being like the other man, like his wife. He says that his wife has been sleeping with him and he's like, I'm not sleeping with your wife. Why would you think
you remember so much of this? Oh, I don't remember it. Gives the
I remember the premise because he gets accused of sleeping with this man's wife and he's like, I'm not sleeping with your wife. Why would you think that? It's because the wife bought this nude painting of him. I mean, he's like he's posed as Endymion, but like it's him. It's recognizably him because she didn't know that he was like a fan. She just thought he was a random dude passed out in an alley. But now he's like her muse. He's the only person she can paint, right? But she had to sell it for money reasons. But now there's this nude painting of a Duke, and he's like, I gotta get this back and find out who this artist is, not knowing it was a woman. Things are complicated.
If you want a little bit less heavy take, in which Matilda Halifax learns the value of restraint, it's kind of
a little bit. It's a similar
little bit there.
Nude drawings of him.
Yeah, erotic etchings.
Except they were a little spicier.
That made me cackle. So yeah, that series overall, each book is very different. Very different tropes.
The Joanna Lowell.
Yes, the Joanna Lowell one. So I liked it. Again, book 2's my favorite. Then obviously read the Lisa Kleypas. But then the next one was Role Playing by Cathy Yardley. That one was just very good in the sense that our heroine she's such a bad bitch. I love her so much. There was a scene. I mean, one of my like catnips like sequences is when one character defends the other character in front of them and the other character like doesn't like feel embarrassed, like they're just like really fucking grateful that someone's finally stood up for them. It's happened in like a few different books and stuff, but in this one his family is his mother is very homophobic and his father was until he died, and then he tried to make amends. Lots of content warnings just for homophobia and biphobia and just a lot of things of that nature. But she stood up for him at this wedding that they had to pretend that they were dating to go to for him. And she was like, hold my earrings, because his ex-girlfriend who had married his brother had a mouth on her. And you were just waiting. And then she said something and the heroine, she's like, nope. That was my line and you crossed it. And she just like took off her earrings and she had to be like physically, like she like leaped across the table and he had to like hold her back. And it was in that moment that I fell in love, because I was just like, I love you so much. It was just really, I loved their relationship. It got overshadowed a lot by different like bad people in their lives. Like you only liked the two of them in that book, because everyone else was just, it was like a shitty small town. She was divorced. Her son just went off to college. She was now an empty nester, and like all the housewives in the town are just very judgy and trying to get her to come out of her shell, but in not a very helpful way. And then she joins this like online gaming guild, and he is the runner of it. And for half the book, he thinks she's 80 and she thinks he's like 21. Because like however they're like communicating via the like online chat, she like it's just like, I'm old enough to be your mom, because she's like 50, or like she's like 48. I think he's like 50, or maybe it's reversed. But he just assumes that she means she's like 80 because he's also old, but she didn't know that. She thought he was a college student because it was like a community college, because he was going for some classes. And it was just a really funny situation when they saw each other for the first time. it was like out of a scene in New Girl. But yeah, it was a good book where you were rooting for them so hard. And the ending was very satisfying, just kind of how it all came out. But it was, again, heavy, and you also hated a lot of people. And the cover's gorgeous. Lenny Kaufman did that one, and I want to live in that cover. And then I reread One Duke Down by Anna Bennett. Lovely as ever. And then we got to Lisa Kleypas again, and that's where we're gonna start talking next. So here we are. Here you are.
I have that New Girl remix song stuck in my head. I'm not a gold digger. You're a freaking gold digger, Jess. It's just on a loop in my brain.
I should
I
really
were
watch.
a gold digger.
I restarted.
The first gold digger in the world. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry.
I restarted Dairy Girls, so I feel like I have to get through that again.
I'm watching Miss Scarlet and the Duke for the first time, which, by the way, recommend. If you're listening to this, I assume you like historical romance. This is it's like a historical romance, but if it were a really, really, really slow burn mystery TV show.
That does sound good.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I've never read.
It's like the Amanda Collins series.
Oh, really? I was gonna say I've never read the Sherry Thomas Lady Sherlock series.
Oh,
but,
I don't either. Maybe it's closer to that. I mean, it's not the same as she's a private investigator, not like a journalist, but it does have the energy of the first Amanda Collins book where like she just shows up at all of his cases.
Yeah.
And he works for Scotland Yard, but he's Scottish and he's so fine. And they're childhood friends.
Ooh.
That are not in love, but they're in love. They just don't know it. And he is so exasperated with her all the time.
The dynamic we need.
It really and truly feels like what I assume Knockout, the next Sarah McLean, is going to feel
I'm so excited for that.
Except he's Scottish. And again, she's not blowing things up. She's just a private investigator who's constantly making his life harder. But it has that like energy of just like him being constantly exasperated with her and her causing problems.
Nice. My mom and I are
good.
gonna have a good time watching that.
Again, really slow burn though. I think the 4th season is coming out, and I've heard they still haven't kissed.
Yeah, so. I feel like I saw on Twitter there was like nothing romantic in like one of the seasons or something, and then people are like, "What?" But
it's like the tension is there. Like you can tell they're like in love. They just they're busy. There was one that was basically just a historical romance novel, but they didn't kiss. In an episode. Well, it's also one of those like there is a through, like sometimes there's a mystery that takes multiple, but usually it's like it's one of those what do you call that? I guess like cyclical plot lines where like there's a mystery introduced in the beginning of the show, and then by the end of the episode you wrap it up. Usually. Sometimes there's longer, but like the mysteries tend to be wrapped up fairly quickly. I just think about that man all the time because he is so fine and he is so large and Scottish and exasperated. And there's an episode that starts with him in his office changing into a tuxedo. And it's like, surprise, we get to see him shirtless now. And I was like, thank you so much for this gift. This man, get out of my face.
Back on the Emma train, I will say that was jarring to see that man's ass and then tucking.
There's an article that I had saved because it was so funny. I wonder if I can find it. But the director, Autumn de Wilde, was basically like she talked to Johnny Flynn, who I love. He writes music, by the way. He's a folk singer, and it's quite lovely. I love his music. But she talked to him and was like, "We're gonna objectify you because this is something that's been done to women. Like I'm gonna objectify your body." And he was like, "Cool, sounds good."
I was like, he had a nice back.
Johnny Flynn is so funny to me because he's not objectively handsome. Like he has a weird. Well, that's
like
face.
every hero kind of in like or at least my like the Persuasion one. That guy's face was a little bit.
Yeah, it makes
sense. Like they're all just interesting faces,
right.
to look at.
He's just interesting,
very refreshing.
Like he's kind of weird looking.
Yeah,
but I was in.
But you want to make out with him.
Yeah,
you want to give him some chapstick and then you want to make out with him.
The scene where he like post ball runs after her and then shows up in her. And I'm like, you're like kind of like your hair is kind of like you're gross right now, but I would immediately welcome you into my bed. Like,
we're getting rid of smash or pass, and it's just would immediately
would you welcome him into your bed? That's the historical romance version. I would leave the adjoining door unlocked, if you will.
Yes.
Locked or unlocked. That's the historical smash or pass. If you were in a marriage of convenience with this person and you had adjoining rooms, would you lock or unlock the door?
And then the great scenes.
New episode.
Both of them. Them approaching the door each and then going back to the bed. Ugh.
I do need to watch Emma over again now just because I'm in the mood.
It's great. Obviously, you know.
I listen to that soundtrack is really beautiful too. I listened to the that has one of my favorite dance scenes. You know, dance scenes in Austen / period dramas. Boy, do they hit. But there's a dance scene where everybody is wearing gloves and they are not. And their hands like and they like stare into each other's eyes.
And then the way they ended the dance and like how she like wrapped his like hand around.
And then they like slowly close up on the hands as they let go, and I was like, "You understand."
Yeah, they knew what they were doing.
You understand. Wow. Oh, that movie's so good. It's so good. The nosebleed,
and the fact that wasn't scripted. It's just
so colorful too. Not the nosebleed. I mean, also the nosebleed.
Well, yeah, it's vivid.
But just like the whole movie is so gorgeous. My favorite, maybe my favorite Austen adaptation ever. I don't know.
It was very good. I was so enamored by it. I just wanted to like watch every movie in that style.
Yeah, I want everything to look like that.
It's beautiful.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's a crapshoot for what you're actually going to hear this episode. Because currently we've talked for an hour and 26 minutes.
You're going to have to cut a lot of random stuff out.
We'll have to make a trailer sometime. Just all of our like
just
bloopers.
For real.
Yeah. We've
outtakes,
got them.
If you will.
So many outtakes. Okay. Well, yeah, you've got a few days until there's another episode. So, Friday.
Yes, stay tuned. That one's really
interview.
Fun.
Yep, interview with Elizabeth Everett. So
I'm really excited. Also, there's a giveaway.
There is. It's a very fun giveaway.
One, and it's really funny. So, I think it's funny anyway. It was her idea.
Well, what was very funny is that Caroline saw half of the conversation of Elizabeth like talking about the giveaway that I was having with our TBR Instagram account. So she was getting like all the notifications from Elizabeth.
Both logged into the romantic TBR Instagram, so I was only seeing her message.
And I had responded to like one of Elizabeth's stories, and then we started talking, but it wasn't my Fringe Book Reviews account. It was the podcast one, which worked. Eventually, it got us this interview. But Caroline was like, "What the hell?" It was
the weirdest, like, one-sided conversation I had ever seen. I mean, I did go back and read to see what was going on, but initially I was like, "What are they talking about?"
And mind you, this is like Elizabeth Everett.
Yeah, it's like an author who you are friends with, but I hadn't really so cool. At all.
Yeah, you hadn't read her books.
The wildest conversation about like historical words for clits. I was like, "What?
She's so cool.
Going on?" But yes, that episode is. Cool. I mean, I had a really good time.
I did too. I would love her back.
You're the one that does the editing, so I haven't like heard anything yet.
I have listened to like 1 minute to make sure we got all of the audio saved, but that's my homework for this week. So
it's gonna be really good.
We're big time rush. No big deal.
Big time rush.
BTR.
Don't do this.
Red dress.
Don't BTR. Romance your TBR.
Oh my god. Oh my. Look what you did. Okay. Well, on that ooh.
Nothing. I was just thinking about those letters scrambled.
Bert.
Tibber.
Rubber ducky, Bert.
And the end. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Our ever-dying love goes out to you. Everlasting. Maybe not ever-dying.
Everlasting. Yeah, ever-dying doesn't make any sense.
I can't talk. Bye.